This is just one of those gravel beds like the Russian River or something that has every type of mineral. It was once buried in, a little creek in between hills, and it has long since meandered back and forth across this valley and just left a massive gravel deposit. And you see the ruts from tires. People drive down through here and stuff, and real mellow zone. And in it are just the coolest. These are all red jaspers. This is our solution here, our low-tech solution. We made a dribble bottle. Beautiful reds. Every shade here. They have lots of them with little seams of agate running through it and stuff, so that's kind of what I hunt. But I have huge supplies of that stuff, so I tend to leave it here. Literally, these are jasper. We have jasper cliffs and bluffs, so it's cherts and let me wet some of these down. Just different red mixes. So that's why here I'm not necessarily hunting the solids, because I have a lot of solids of each color, but don't want to waste too much time on these. Want to make it a video with a bunch of good stuff in it, but not that this isn't good stuff, just to show whatever your flavor was, you could probably find it in a river like this for sure. Yeah, and what looks gray once you get it wet is not. It's just different colors, all different colors. So let me show you some good stuff. Nice chunk of mahogany. It's red and black obsidian, like you get out at Davis Creek. The red in this will be chalky, and then the black will be translucent. So I collect those for sure. But it's just black obsidian, black obsidian. Each one of those could have grays or swirls. This whole, it's obsidian. These are all huge chunks. You see that? It's just got its outside on there. But that's what they are. We can knock a few of those open just to show you how many there are. Literally, all this material that close is all obsidian. And for this region, this creek has some of the purest. Yeah, so that'll have grays and blacks. And I see stripe to it. And compared to some areas around here where it has lots of bubbles and flaws and fractures and stuff, the chunks that you get out of here are big and pure. So it's a higher grade stuff for sure. And yeah, there's that much of it. It's just obsidian, 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 obsidian. Each piece with different details to it. I've found different sheens. Just in pieces like this on the outside, you can see that it's going to have stripes to it. There'll be gray and black alterations running all through that. And that itself is even pretty cool, because it's like a big old Apache tear. Has all of its natural sides to it. Probably where it flew through the air. Lots of good stuff. I can tell this is going to be a nice piece of probably a chert. Grays mixed in with the green. That's a very translucent gray in the middle. Some beautiful greens. Some little it's nice though. It looks like one of those little candies. Or a piece of meat. Just Skin and the layers of fat. Mmm. Literally, huh? Stew meat. Stew meat Jasper. Yeah, no, it's got the little pink. There's the detail on that one. We'll focus. Stripey. Here is a chunk of pretty fractury red jasper. It's really brachiated. You can see where it busted apart and then the quartz filled it back in. Is the theory I go along with and agree. The rips and the tears from the movement of the earth and then the filling back in of the silicates. So got a little pocket in there. I'm not going to take that though. There's much better in this creek, and as far as cutting, that would be more of just looking at it and keeping it for a specimen stone, because it's got a lot of fractures. You know, discs of obsidian. What about the other ones? Yellow jasper, this one's got some sparkle. Little mini sparkle. I don't know if that's glinting for you. Possibly. That one I can tell just from the bubbles, the pockets, and the cracks on all sides is probably, I'm kind of hunting slicing stones. I have some really nice specimens as far as keeping a rock in a collection for just its sheer beauty and not worrying about if it's got a crack to it or if it can get made into anything. I have a good collection of all the jasper colors, so leave that for someone who doesn't. But I'm hunting things that, ooh, look at the gray stripes in that. That's obsidian. So I'm looking for things that we can cut, that we can make things out of. Huh. That one's most likely at least a blank. It's got way too much of the shape, but people would argue it either way. Right behind that, I think we have our first agate jasper of the day. Okay, I just wanted to share this with you because, I was laughing. In the chalcedony species, every book is different. They all have different information, different amounts of the information. I was reading in this one about jasper. That's why, you know, even if you've read a book on jasper, every chance you get, you know, read what the next one has to say, and then you'll see how many discrepancies there are, how many sides of the argument there are for how things are made and everything. This was just a funny thing. In the varieties under jasper, according to color, appearance, occurrence, or composition, there are many names used in the trade. And then agate jasper, see it there in print? Jaspagate. So don't think that me and Katie did and other people are the first people to combine those two words together, or that we're that silly for doing so, because agate jasper is yellow, brown, or green blended, grown together with agate. Remember that agate is just a banded form of chalcedony. Jasper is basically all of the colors of chalcedony that aren't see-through. Chalcedony is see-through with no banding, and then agate is all of the different colors of the see-through stuff that have banding. Yeah, there's all the rest of them, but I just thought that was funny. Agate jasper, because when I pick them up and it's, you know, like a brachia, and it's all been infilled with chalcedonies that have water lines in them, that's what I call them too. Isn't a jasper or a jaspagate? Oh, it's big. And it is. Yay! I can see the agate bands running through it now. Wipe all the dirt off with our hands so we don't waste the water and then get this wet. Yep, goes all the way through, and that's bigger, more solid, nice piece. Yay! Okay, be right back. Just ridiculous. Look at the agate stripe running through there. That's why I put that little short video at the beginning of this where I had found Jaspagate in a book too. Remember that we're all reading different books, and that the people who write those books traditionally get together and argue with each other and dispute everything that they've put in their books. I just really want you to be aware of that. And any honest geologist will tell you that there's some things that they all agree on, and when you have a consensus like that, that's a good thing. When you have different people arguing, just make sure that that you then aren't on a different page from someone else, literally, and that you're getting different information. Because I have 7 different books or so with there's mineral discrepancies in each one of those that would make you laugh between the different versions of plate tectonics and how things work and how things were formed, and especially in California and especially in the coastal range. So this is some real new territory and new stuff out here, and constantly you'll run into people who just are dead set that they know everything, and if they haven't heard of it, then it doesn't exist. And I kind of lump that in with academia, you know, and that's why it gets stuck. So for everything that it is a body of knowledge, it shouldn't limit the expansion of new thoughts and new discoveries, which it often does. I'm going to keep this one. This one's beautiful. Not to sidetrack too much. And then while I'm sitting here, as often happens, you start to slow down enough and all of a sudden they're popping out everywhere. So we got, this looks like just the deepest green. It's got conchoidal, which around here, you know, 90% of the green you're going to run into of shades of gray, green, and brown is chert. This one has a little bit more weight. So dark. This is a really cool specific type of jasper that comes from here. It's got a deep mix of what I call the fire colors, so the red, yellow, orange spectrum of the color wheel, as opposed to like ocean colors or forest colors, you know. That's all I mean by that. And it's deep purple and or burgundy, but with all these little details, it is just like a graffiti party. Somebody threw confetti in the air. The crows are laughing at us over there. They love it. You know you love watching me wander around and do weird stuff. Sometimes I think they fly from home with me just to see what I'm going to get up to today. Yeah, do you see that? All the gold flecks and the separate in between all that, that's all stitched together. But that is really what you're looking at. It's that rich with bizarrety. Just picture that made in little pendants, you know? It would definitely bedazzle a little bit. Yeah, and then this piece of, I'll soak them all here. Soak you. Nice piece of this yellow tan colored jaspers. Yeah, with a cool little pattern going through it. Like a Celtic running deer or something, some sort of cave art going on there. It goes around, just basic quartz fill there. The double-sided druzy that's stitched together in the seam. But we have a lot of that. Here's this, ooh, it's from almost a pinky salmon into like a blue, gray, black. Maybe we take that, slice that a little bit and see what we can do with it. And this green little wish stone here. And then, yeah, it's kind of an ugly slab of meat there. We'll leave that one. Ooh, there's a nice pure chunk of obsidian. I'm not even going to break it. We'll cut it. You know, every once in a while I just can't resist because I can see it's going from, you see the banding in that? Do I even have to get it wet? Yeah, I do. We'll do that. See the alteration in colors? There very well could be sheen that's That's oftentimes what gives sheen is the layering in obsidian. The fact that it's pure. Looks like we'll get slabs and that's visually evident what's going on with it from a distance away now, even before it's cut. It's probably going to be a cool little chunk of stone. Obsidian, obsidian. But I was bending down to grab this, is what I was doing here. Oh, that piece I just picked up and tossed down we weren't going to keep. And that piece, look how tight the banding is in that. That is awesome stuff. We are within throwing distance of Mount Canocti. Can we see it? It's behind the trees here. So we're at the base of a volcano. So that is why we're in a river of obsidian. And it's volcanoes that bubbled up because we're on the Pacific Ring of Fire. It bubbled up through sedimentary rock, metamorphosizing it as it went. So we have a rich variety of all categories. As I pick this up, I'm saying metamorphosized as heck. So different things, not sure what they are, not sure what to call this stone. It's a stone, so there's probably 7 different minerals in this one. The combination of them occurring together like this might have a specific name. That's where it would get confusing. And then the components, if they broke out of here and you found them individually, would be their own minerals and their own stone at that point. So it's a stone composed of many minerals. I'm not sure if it has, if this cocktail of minerals has a specific name to it. But it's definitely like a breccia of some sort. And I'm thinking metamorphosized also because I see maybe stripes of gneiss running through here. Some nice stripes. Definitely solid enough to cut and get some bizarre looking little pendant works out of there. Or ... We are looking for varieties. The mixes. There's a lot of reds and greens. You can see as you get stuff wet, it just lights it up. Blues. What are we looking at? This is, it looks like it was chert at one time and it got heated and stirred and bubbled and squished, and it's now resembles another piece of meat. It's a meat day. This is a really cool little thing. I believe it to be a use specific tool. So it's the corner of a larger rock. It's knocked off, but it's been given, in my opinion, a specific little edge there. You might ask, why is that not finished? Because not everything was a projectile. Instead, that looks almost like a pointy ulu-like creature, skinner, scraper, cutter, fabric, tool, you know. There's a billion things that were needed just like today. So that looks really use specific though. Oh, look at that. That is just gem level. You can see the clarity of it. The black and the gray layers in there, and then it looks like it's gonna sheen between grays and blacks as it twists. That's a beautiful piece. Just can't resist it. You know, the difference between that and an agate. It's a silicate. It's in layers. It's pretty. So here we got this one that I was ignoring because I didn't realize what we were looking at. I thought it was like yellow speckled quartz. This is a crazy agate jasper. This is what we came looking for, right in front of our faces. Do you see this? Look closer. Each one of these little islands is actually afloat in a sea of agate. White, beautiful agate. It's got little purple highlights to it. Very solid and non-fracturous. Look at this piece. Because it's from a river instead of out of a a cliff wall. That's the only problem when you're digging fresh, is that the fractures haven't had their time to bounce down for years and ages with all the other stones and be reduced into their hardest little form. Or the reverse on that is that sometimes things in creeks are more destroyed. Like if you leave arrowheads and stuff like that in a creek, of course they're going to get broken and broken and broken, and other precious stones can be damaged. So, but look at this. Besides just talking, look. I do all this filming in the field, so I actually have to shoot about 2 to 3 times what I end up including, because between the smallness and the discoloration of the viewfinder and then the glare of the viewfinder, you're just trying to get an idea. And then when I zoom in real close, of course, then I can use them like glasses or something to magnify it. It's easier for me to see. But look at these. Look at these islands. And I want to make sure that I capture the details, you know, that I can see with my eyeballs. And then you get in a dimmer room and you put it on a nice computer and you have a regular screen instead of a viewfinder screen where the colors are just kind of more bland and smaller, and it looks way better. And you can edit it down, so an hour of footage cut down to 20 or 30 minutes. Look at that though, that's beautiful. Do you see the little, there is a halo, a nimbus around each golden cloud, and the channels of the white running through it all. I hope that's picking up. It's not just a speckled yellow and white stone. Also, you know, these videos you have to make sure that you're watching in a high enough definition, because YouTube keeps setting everything to like 240 and it needs to be up at least 760, which is what we're shooting on this camera today. So I am not necessarily shooting in fuzzier stuff. Sometimes I am if I'm having difficulty with like the GoPro. I've had some issues with focus with the close-ups. That's why we are back to a good zoom camera for rockhounding. But beautiful, solid. It literally goes from purples into yellows and golds and clarity. The islands are actually in like a little clear pocket themselves. Look at that. This is a beautiful little chunk of chert. It is gray-green, very translucent, not see-through, but definitely passes light. And yeah, it goes from greens into deeper greens, gray greens, into not necessarily cuttable, but not something I'm going to leave behind because it's green, my precious. I sat down to show you these 3 and then sat down next to that one. I got 4 to show you, and I myself don't know what they look like because we're using water sparingly today. So let's start with that one. This one is the most fractious, but it's got the brightest colors going on. The red and the gray. So the red is coming from a jasper in here, and the rest is just metamorphosized craziness swirls of other minerals, thus the other colors. But yeah, pretty cool. Not worth cutting. This one, big old chunk of jasper fire colors. This one is worth cutting. This one. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. That's a little agate world in there. Like if a lake filled up a valley. All its little inlets. All the fractures. in the fire. Sounds like lyrics, all the fractures in the fire. This is actually a big old fractal of a patch. If we can, we're going to slice right across that and try and get that fractal that goes from there all the way around. I call it a fractal because instead of being fortified, it's the opposite, you know? More like water looks from above, filling up fjords and such. Yeah, my battery light is flashing, and the water's getting low. The next here, green chert, really identifiable as chert in this region because we have a ribbon chert. It's sedimentary because of how it forms salacious ooze from the bottom of the ocean, which has condensed, solidified, become rock, and then shifted up onto land. And because of that, it has this little layer of clay or fine sediment that's in between them. And because it's forming in flat sheets, and because of the color, because of the breaking, and because of the weight and the hardness, and the color, and the location. But always forgetting the location. It's like one of the most important things, because somebody a state away will hold something up like this and it'll have conchoidal fractures and it'll be green jasper. But this isn't. This is chert. This is California green chert. Absolutely. Ribbon chert. Obsidian. The banding in that one looks pretty cool. Are you seeing that? Yeah. Yeah, you can see it go from small dead on to boom. We can use that color play. Chunk of jasper. I'm not going to collect this one because it doesn't have enough fireworks going off in it for me. I really like to get them here where they have the agate veins going through there, and like I said, I literally live where I could gather buckets of this stuff and then walk back to my yard with it. So, not the rest of the mix, but the real fire colored jaspers and stuff. So I'm always looking for the stuff that has the agate running through it. But yeah, we're down in beautiful land here. Every different option in the world. Look at the flowers that are going off. Ugh, that might be sticky like a tarweed. Because one of the defenses of the plants around these areas is that they get a sticky tar all over. Hey, look at the blue in that. Blue greens. Ooh. Ooh. That is crazy. That again is a nugget of chert. I can tell by texture on the outside. Whoa. I can tell by the texture on the outside, and the look, and the location, and the hardness. And if you look in the roadside geology of California, look how beautiful that is. It's insane. If you look in the roadside geology of California, that's my favorite book to read from. The author of that and his information are what I agree with the most as far as some of the debated theories on everything. And is real honest about how much stuff is still being debated and everything, but has very good writing in it and helps you understand. It's really descriptive about just the different processes with direct locations where you can go and look at the rocks themselves for yourself. And yeah, look at that. This is beautiful. That's a stunner. Hope we can get a little triangle out of that or something. I'll have to think about it. Look at this green, or chert. I think we're going to leave this. It's a little chalky looking, but I see. Oh, look. Look again, look closer. You see the greens and the blues and the grays. Man, there's some good stuff. Definitely a chert. See the clay layer. Be another one here. And yeah, the ribbons can be that thick or thicker, and there's spots along Highway 1 where it's as big as the cliffs that they bolted the cars through. Literally, that's where they are. But yeah, look at that. That is just, see the coil fractures in there. The gray and the green. Love it. Obsidian. This is solid gobs. Oh, what is that? More green. But I got you to look at that. I got you. I got you. See the fire? See that little cube of pure jasper goodness. Yeah, and yeah, we'll bring that just because, heck, it can almost go into a, well, no. We'll slice it into squares. Get 3 or 4 out of that. Although I see a little fracture running down. Favorite face, and slice down through it. And see if you can get anything that's savable. Here's some green chert going to red chert. There's the green that literally mixes just straight across, see, into the red. And that would just be a big chunk of red there. So that's not burgundy jasper, even though it is a silicate, because it was formed from siliceous ooze. It's not it's not the chalcedony family. It is a sedimentary. A green thing blinking at me. That's why I have a green eyeball on my wrist. Kind of a green fiend. Yep, that's a beautiful little blue chunk of chert. It's just very fracturous in its nature. When you're cutting it, all those little things that you see go across it tend to be weak spots. So, really great for tumbling. The end also in that being that you need to do a good burnishing. If you saw my video that I did recently of fine polishing, that was the actual trick to it, is to throw the shredded chunks of sock in there, or any of their terry cloth. And I discovered that really does all that toothbrush scrubbing, gets that final finishing powder out of there, just some dish soap and that, or whatever you prefer to put in your tumbler, whatever soap you use in the end to clean your stuff up. So things like this that you know, no matter how much you polish them, are going to have some crevicing left in the end. That's one of the tricks, is to burnish them with some cloth that'll clean it out. Or wait till the end and toothbrush that stuff out like a maniac till midnight. It's just not hard to spot stuff here. I mean, do you want obsidian? Or that's probably a nice piece of jasper there. I have to go wet that down. And then your feet, that's ridiculous. That's screaming up at us. It's looking like the leaves that have fallen around us. Let's dribble some water on this and see what it says. Oh, it's almost poppy. This patterning has gone into circles. It's almost like a poppy jasper. In fact, you know, you can tell me what you think, because get you the close-ups here. Quest for details, close-up. Look at the color mixing. You couldn't do that any better. A line got drawn and bubbles of the paint from either side got pulled into each other. But look at the patterning in that. That is why I love jaspers. That's why oftentimes I consider them one of the more beautiful end of the chalcedony family instead of the less precious. There's its broken side. But even in that you can see it's got some roundness to it. There. And it shows up the red round and the yellow round. And we flip that over. A lot of little rounds. Almost popping. Oh, it's beautiful though, right? Look at that. Come on, that just... Okay. Who knows what you might have been. Just 1,000 pieces here. This whole video was literally shot just in this strip right here. I mean, so. And at this point, I feel like we have a lot of pretty things we've looked at, so I'm just walking along at this height instead of being stooped over. You know, I'm just looking for things that are just ridiculously, obviously beautiful. Oh, gosh. Here's one. Yeah, a lot of holes to that, but that's, you know, oftentimes how you get the agate in this. Look at this. Look. Oh. See the pink in here? And then the yellow. I mean, it's agate work. Let me do the infinite zoom. Look right in here. I mean, they're small and they like got shifted and broken apart, you know, as they got metamorphosized and squished and crushed and heated. The seams that had already filled literally got sheared away from each other and scooted over. But the coloring in that is, I hope that's coming through. It's going from the burgundy into just these, those are fortifications in there. They're small, but they are there. Some more where that patterning is. We're running out of water here. There. Yeah, I'm liking that here too. The yellow, the white. Red. Beautiful red. Meat colored jasper. It's already in a diamond shape too. It's literally, that's a something. Look at the shape of that. See how it's beveled down? It's the same diamond shape there as there, but with a bevel to the whole thing. I feel like we should just cut that on the same angles. For sure. That's some beautiful stuff. What do you think? And then this big old chunk of ribbon shirt. There's the rough on the outside. Do you see that? There's the rough on the other side. There's a little bit of it where it's breaking through. Break on through to the other side. Please don't sing that. Okay. I won't. I promise. But yeah, that is some more pure stuff. You can get some slabs out of that. And it's a big chunk. Some blue. Green, gray. You can see the overall sedimentary slab of it. Oh yeah. And then that's what I mean. If you come back to the same creeks over and over and over and you see this in smaller pieces, then it's really easy to identify. Once you've identified it the first few times, the green's in that. That's another, see the top and the bottom, where it's gone into almost a clay and a chalk, and then in between, the actual stripe of the goodness. There's a couple big chunks for it right there. Boom, boom, boom. Literally can still see the bag. So I'm doing my best to gather and scoop here, but I don't think we made much of a dent overall. The rest of them will just have to wait for somebody else to bring them home and save them. Huge chunk of yellow. Massive. This one seems to be a little more chalky. You could just kind of tell. By chalky I mean way less translucent. This end is stitched in some of the brachiated patterns and splits in the rock. But gonna leave it. Looks like this is, well, we should get it wet before we judge a piece of jasper. It's too rough for me, and I know this stuff. I know this particular stuff, so the patterning in it is pretty small. And there's gonna be someone who comes along who loves you and brings you home before you have to turn into sand. Yowie, look at the fire in that. Deep burgundies up through the yellows and oranges. Lightning bolts of quartz running through the whole thing. Boom. Chunk of swirled together. Chert madness. See the blues and the greens. This one has been cooked and manipulated by the forces of time and geology itself. Well, I was getting that one wet. And I got the other one wet too. The green one there. Yellow jasper goodness. Pinks. Lots of fun in that. Goes into the salmon and stuff here. How about you? It's getting near the end of the day. It's direct sun for an hour or so. And it's another square. Far left, there's definitely chert and jasper here. Look at the offset of the mahogany colors here. The red and the black. Here's its conchoidal fracture. You can see the shiny obsidian inside. Half red, half black. Not super shiny stuff, but well joined together. Sometimes the red and mahogany can be chalky and just fall away when you go to cut it. And it's pretty thin little piece, but it's still a cool color play. I at least wanted to show you how mixed up it is here and how bright red brick the color is compared to the black. Some agate is just, or some jasper is just more crystalline and shiny than others. This little node is just, it's wet, but it's clean, pure stuff. See what we can get out of that, even though it's small. You're only talking little pendants sometimes, so maybe we'll make a little gemstone. Big old chunks of jasper. Quartz running all through it. Lines, so each one of those fissures is a break zone. Here's that end of the day Kelseyville rock that'll just always keep you coming back for more. Look at this thing, it's ridiculous. We out of water? Murphy's Law kicks in right then. Do you see this? That's what we came for. Oh man, it makes you just want to wander around the whole rest of the day picking these up. Agates, every little crack is an agate in this one. It's the difference between the quartz and agate is the infill is. Jasper. See that? But look at the agate. Seams start there. It actually starts all the way around. We're gonna have to just cut this basically as is, I think. You see that? It's another one of those. Maybe we'll just barely knock some of the tips off the bottom, although I don't want to take that out of there. And then we'll just sharpen these sides so you don't have to look at all the breaking and you can see what's there. We can see what's there. Whoa. Okay, we're done. We got it.